This Sportz Blitz podcast is brought to you by LMG. Grow your business through logo design, paper products, and video production. Visit leemarketing.net to learn more.
Welcome back into Sportz Blitz Live. Luke Robinson here with you. And now we do have Braden Gall, the man who seems to be everywhere. I hear him on Sirius Radio. He's writing for Athlon Sports. He's doing everything. Braden, how you doing?
Oh, just getting ready for the UConn Notre Dame women's game here in Nashville. I'm actually working tonight on Sirius after the game, so check that out, by the way. Two coaches who hate each other. So even a little women's basketball into the mix, into the repertoire for sure.
Man, I really do. I love your show. I love Chris Childer's show, Bill King's show. SiriusXM will change your life. And you can always take a little time out to watch Sportz Blitz. But when Sportz Blitz isn't on, I highly recommend all things SiriusXM. And I love your article for Athlon Sports, the all-BCS era team. What a great concept. And it really opens up a lot of room for debate. And first and foremost, you got to talk about the quarterback. You've got names like Tim Tebow, Cam Newton, and Johnny Manziel. I personally think Johnny Manziel is the best player in Southeastern Conference history. I understand Tim Tebow is the most decorated, but you could make the argument Cam Newton was the most dynamic. You went with Tebow.
Yeah, and A.J. McCarron the most successful when it comes to championships and winning, which is really the only reason we play the game in the first place. So, it's no shortage of great signal callers, which is kind of a new thing, I would say, for the SEC. If you look at the four best quarterbacks, which I think we've just named them all, if you talk about the BCS era with Newton and McCarron and Manziel and Tebow, all guys that signed and were on campus by 2006. So, we talked a lot about SEC quarterbacks kind of being a little bit behind the curve. It seems like if you look at the last 5-6 years, that certainly has changed. And a lot of great quarterbacks in the SEC that just weren't, overly talented players, were excellent game managers, and the Greg McElroys of the world and the T. Martins, who were excellent college football players, but just not. They didn't have that raw talent to be the next level. Matt Flynn, Matt Mock, all these guys. So great quarterback play. Like you said, you can make a case for any of them. It's really hard for me to argue with Tebow when it comes to the complete resume. 2 national championships. Basically one game away from probably a third. Every individual award you could ever ask for, every statistical record you could ever ask for. And as much as excitement as Manziel brings to the table, Tebow was equally unstoppable. Certainly a different player, but equally unstoppable. All guys, they were great for sure.
No, you're absolutely right. I just love the idea of Johnny Manziel out there. He wouldn't have to run for his life with this offensive line. That may be your best unit on the whole team. But I love the idea of Manziel out there throwing to Jordan Matthews and Percy Harvin. That would be pretty incredible.
Yeah, it would be amazing. And what's interesting is I don't think any of the quarterbacks would work in each other's systems. That's what's so fascinating. A.J. McCarron would not play well in Gus Malzahn's 2010 Auburn team. In that system, Johnny Manziel, I don't think would be nearly as effective in the Urban Meyer spread that was predicated on a power running game from the quarterback. At 6'4", 230, 240, Tim Tebow did things that Manziel simply couldn't do. Now, obviously, conversely, could Tebow have played in Kevin Sumlin's system? Maybe so, but the things that Manziel did were, completely unique to his skill set. He is the true super quarterback in that definition. The problem with Manziel is, I know his defense, is a big part of this issue. He just never really won the big game. Yes, he beat Alabama in that one game, but 9-4, banged up a little bit. He's a showstopper, and Tebow had a much better roster around him. There's no doubt about that. But you got to draw the line. You got to pick somebody, and somebody's going to get left out. And so I feel that Aaron Murray doesn't even get a mention here. David Green, the winningest quarterback in college football history when he retired, doesn't really even get a mention. So some great players that don't even get mentioned necessarily on this list.
Yeah, we've been blessed the last few years with quarterback play in this conference. There's no doubt about it. Aside from the quarterback, which position was the hardest for you or has been the most controversial?
Wow, that's an excellent question. Maybe cornerback. I think you could make the case, Patrick Peterson, Champ Bailey, Carlos Rogers, Morris Claiborne, trying to pick 2 of those guys, incredibly difficult there. I felt really good. LaRon Landry, Reggie Nelson were solid players, but I felt really good about Eric Berry and Mark Barron at safety. The linebackers were amazing as well, as you can expect from the SEC. So maybe I might lean corner on that one. Certainly quarterback, as we just talked about was difficult. Defensive tackle. What's interesting is that for a league and a team for a conference that we associate defensive linemen with so strongly, the names didn't pop out off the record book, when it comes to defensive linemen. So, Pollock and Alex Brown were my starters. I mean, John Abraham was an honorable mention. And so it's, they don't have you don't see the Julius Peppers, the Namdekan Stu, the guys that were just unbelievably dominant. I found that actually pretty interesting, to be honest with you. And, left tackles, a bunch of superstars. How about this? I'll go tight end on offense because I personally could not put Aaron Hernandez on as the first team tight end. I know he's the most decorated and probably the most talented. I just couldn't do it. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I chose not to do it, and that was my decision. And you know what? It's my article, so I get to do that.
No, I'm on your side. I think that you got to take points off for murdering people, so I'm all for that. I think
it sounds bad when you say it like that.
And I'm going to say a couple of things. First of all, your cornerbacks it's odd to me that was the most controversial, or at least up there for you, the first place you went. I thought that may be the strongest position on the team if it's not offensive line. I mean, Patrick Peterson and Mark Barron and Eric. I mean, my goodness gracious, there is no way you're completing a pass on that group. But defensive line, you're absolutely right. The only pick I'll probably disagree with you on, because I can buy Tim Tebow. I totally get Tim Tebow being there. I love the guy.
Sure.
Jadeveon Clowney versus David Pollock. I cannot understand that one. I think Clowney is a game changer. And I know David Pollock did a lot of great things at Georgia, but Clowney did a lot of things to put South Carolina on the map.
Yeah, totally. And certainly, Connor Shaw, Spurrier, a lot of great players from South Carolina are part of that process. We all love Clowney. From a physical standpoint, there's probably never been anybody as a first team, as a number one overall recruit type of guy. And we've seen a lot of great players, Kim Dichie come through. And now nobody's really got the ability of Clowney. We recognize that. And certainly the statistics in his junior season were incredibly disappointing, but that's also a function of his extraordinary talent because he's double teamed and you run away from him and all these things. The thing about what I think Pollock, he gets hurt a little bit because of his broadcasting career. I think he rubs people the wrong way sometimes on the air, and I think that people they truly forget how unbelievably dominant and decorated he was. There's just not many three-time All-Americans. There's just not many people that have that on their resume. Two-time SEC Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, there's just things that he did including winning an SEC championship for Georgia, the first time in 20 years. So there's just things that I think he gets hurt, 10 years removed, having broadcasted. People see him a lot. They only think of him as that other guy on game day and on Thursday night broadcasts. So I think that maybe hurts him a little bit. But from a production standpoint and from an award standpoint, very difficult to argue with Pollock. Now, if you want to go Clowney versus Alex Brown, we could have a discussion there. That's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I'm not sure which one's better there. But Clowney extremely decorated in his 2 years. Certainly, it is what it is. It is junior year, and obviously his senior year is not going to be a factor. So I feel pretty good about Pollock. I think you could argue Brown and Clowney and really go back and forth with that one if you wanted to.
No, I think that's a fair point, especially about the broadcasting. And also when people see David Pollock now and he's lost so much weight, if you didn't see him back then, you can't imagine his being intimidating. But he was intimidating for Georgia back in that day.
No, and it just, again, Bednarik Award winner. He won 2 Hendricks Awards. That's twice as many as Clowney. Lombardi Trophy, the Lott Award. I mean, just and highlight reel plays. I mean, when people like the play he made against South Carolina, the play he made the bowl game against Wisconsin. I mean, he made highlight reel plays just like everybody else. So I do think the broadcasting career definitely hurts him because it's easy for people to go, oh, I don't like David Pollock or Desmond Howard or whatever. It's just easy for people to kind of pick on broadcasters because they're still top of mind, which takes away, I think, from their playing career.
All right, you've sold me on Pollock, but I'm booting somebody to get Clowney on there. I'm just doing it.
Brown, like I said, Alex Brown was a real tough call for me. That was a very, very difficult decision. Again, very removed, but again, a 2-time first-team All-American and the Gator School record for sacks, Defensive Player of the Year in the SEC. The last, was on those great Florida teams in the late '80s and early '90s, or late '90s, early 2000s. I think out of sight, out of mind for him a little bit, but you could totally make the case Clowney, and I would not have a problem with him being ahead of Alex Brown. That's John Abraham is an unbelievable NFL player, for so many years, and played on bad teams for South Carolina. So, and he gets kind of lost in the shuffle. So somebody's going to get their feelings hurt when you do exercises like this.
Exactly. Well, who from a current roster do you think has a chance to be on this list, say, 3 or 4 years from now?
Wow, that's a really difficult question. Trying to think through some of the best players that are coming back. Todd Gurley is a running back because Trent Richardson made the roster as a starter. Nobody's going to knock Darren McFadden off the top spot unless another guy like him comes along. And for my money, if Gurley puts up another huge season and stays healthy, he's going to be in the dope walker conversation. He's going to be in the Heisman Trophy conversation, and the offense will be based around him. Either this next 1 year or the next 2 years, however long he stays around. So maybe Todd Gurley is in that mix. We just saw so much talent leave the SEC this year. I mean, LSU alone, and then all the quarterbacks have left. It's going to be a running backs league this year, so maybe Gurley, maybe Yeldon is in that mix. They're going to have to be special to really be the best, at their position over a 16-year window. Gurley probably has the best opportunity. If you really look at it, there's a couple of defenders for Georgia maybe. It's going to be really tough to see anybody currently playing crack into this. But you know what? We didn't see Manziel necessarily coming either, so you never know.
That's absolutely right, but I'm going to throw one name in there. Just as an Alabama fan, I'm going to say Amari Cooper. I think he's going to have a pretty incredible year with Lane Kiffin there.
He's pretty nasty, and I think, I was really high on him coming into last year. I thought no player in the nation had a first step more explosive than him. But there's a couple other receivers on the Alabama roster that had better seasons last year. Now, he's got to be healthy and everything, but Cooper is an extremely talented player. There's no doubt about it.
I can't let you go without getting your thoughts on the national championship game last night and what your thoughts are on the state of college basketball as a whole.
I thought it was a great season. I mean, the 7 and 8 certainly leaves a lot to be desired if you're just if you're a fan sitting in Iowa or Colorado or California or the Northeast or whatever. I mean, that 7-8 matchup doesn't necessarily get people going, but I thought, a lot of great players on display last night. I thought they lived up to expectations. Certainly UConn's an amazing program, and Kevin Ollie's a really easy guy to root for, a great coach, and kind of a blue-collar guy as a player, just turned into a blue-collar guy as a coach, and really easy to root for that guy. They're just always kind of even though they got some big-time recruits, their identity is very blue-collar at UConn. So, I thought a pretty solid game. I thought tons of upsets in the tournament. I thought it was really entertaining, enjoyable. I thought the regular season was great, especially the Big 12. A lot of great storylines with Doug McDermott and those kind of things. So I think a huge step up from a year before. I thought, scoring was way up, offense was way up. I think the freshman class was much better this year than it was the year before. I don't think anybody argues that. So I think as a whole, major step in the right direction from the 2013 season. So I had a great time covering it this year. Really entertained by it. Like I said, the Big 12 was so fun to watch, and is going to be even more fun probably next year. So I think we're in good shape. There's a couple of small things I think will be tweaked. 2 and done could be an opportunity for if the NBA goes that direction. I think the shot clock needs to be dropped a couple of seconds, whether that's 30 or 24. I vote for 30. My co-host Tom Brennan is big on 6 fouls. He's been on that soapbox for about 12 months now. He wants 6 fouls for everybody. So there's a few things that we could tweak, but all in all, I think a really excellent college basketball season.
All right, final question for you, Braden. You're the general manager of the Houston Texans.
Oh, not even close. Your boy. not even close. I'm taking Clowney. I don't. In fact, the only other player I would consider is Greg Robinson. To be honest with you, I think Robinson is that good. I think he's got a lot of Joe Thomas in his game. Just an excellent athlete, great footwork. Can move in space. Just a tremendous player. I think there's no downside whatsoever with Greg Robinson. So I'd go Clowney for sure. I just think he's the most physically gifted player in the draft, and I'm not sure it's close. Robinson at number 2. And I get the Manziel thing. I mean, he's from the area, but guess what? There's a lot of Texas Longhorns fans that are Texas fans. So
true.
He's not this automatic, sell-out arena, sell-out ticket kind of guy. I think Jacksonville is where he fits better just because, you need some excitement in that town. But if I'm Houston, I'm going Clowney all the way.
Yeah, Jacksonville may like to have him a little more, but I don't know that Manziel wants to spend his time in Jacksonville. I think he wants to party down in Houston.
He's going to be hanging out with Drake anyway. It doesn't matter.
Hey, Braden, man, it was awesome. Thanks so much for being with us, and enjoy the girls' championship tonight.
Always a pleasure, guys. Have a good one.
All right, buddy, we'll have you back on. That was Braden Gall from Athlon.com, also with SiriusXM, does a fantastic job with them. Man, it's a great article. You need to go check it out. Athlon.com. It's the all-SEC BCS era team. Lots to debate, and Randy and I will certainly do that when we come back on Sportz Blitz Live.